countries like India are guzzling it up at cut price, essentially continuing to fund the war. I mean, what can be done?
We have to remember that at the same time, countries like Germany continue buying Russian oil, Russian gas, and in fact, the money paid to Russia for those fossil fuels far exceeds what the West has given Ukraine. So it's not just India, it's European countries who are responsible for directly funding Russia at the moment.
I mean, they talk about unity, don't they? And unity is clearly what's needed. It seems to me there's just a drip of sanctions, and every time Russia gets given the time to respond, essentially just prolonging the misery. And now we've got an argument shaping up between America and the UK, with Boris Johnson saying it's desperately needed that biocrop land is turned over for growing food crops with the blockade of grain from Ukraine, and America being protectionist and saying this is going to hurt American farmers.
Well, Ukraine is rightly known to be the breadbasket of Europe and indeed the world, as it turned out. Putin using grain export and restriction of grain export from Ukraine is bringing the fight to Europe, to Britain, to America directly. And more than harming the American farmers, this is harming the European economy, the world economy, and this needs to be dealt with directly.
But how can this be dealt with directly? The problem, it seems, that Putin's priced in these divisions, and the so-called unity seems little more than a photo shoot and a PR exercise when it comes to Germany delivering the big weapons that they've promised, when it comes to telling Macron to do one, when he starts talking about appeasing Putin, essentially capitulating over territory. There isn't really any unity, is there? And that's the problem.
Unity is something that needs to be gained, definitely, but at the moment, Britain and America are way ahead of other European states, and this is perhaps something that needs to carry on. Britain and America needs to arm Ukraine, to allow it to open the ports, to protect the grain ships that leave Ukraine, and to protect the Ukrainian population. We have to remember that yesterday, there was a strike on a high-rise residential building and a children's nursery in Kiev, the most protected area of Ukraine. We need to arm them.
And Putin's clearly trying to send a message, isn't he? Essentially bombing Kiev, which he hasn't done for months, at the very same time that Zelensky is making that appeal to world leaders. He's trolling the G7 right now, isn't he?
It's very well timed with the G7 summit. It also can be seen as a delayed retaliation for Ukrainian attacks on the Smyrna Island in the Black Sea, which is Ukrainian territory. It's occupied by Russia. So, yes, in both cases, Putin is playing a political game, but unfortunately with weapons that kill people.
I mean, if we cannot encourage some of the Western European leaders to do more, and of course they have to price in the impact it's going to have on their people at home, they're far more reliant on Russian energy than we are. I mean, how can Britain, by itself, with the help of America, actually continue to face down Putin? It can't, can it?
No, Britain can. Definitely can, and it has done very well. It's well ahead on the sanctions compared to European countries. It's well ahead on the arms that are provided to Ukraine. And Ukrainians see that. There's popular support for Boris Johnson, and that is the reason why. Because Britain has contributed far more, and it seems will continue to contributing far more, supporting Ukrainian efforts against Russia.